Good morning, guys. So we're going to pick up where we left off on Wildfire. Chapter 17, Burning the World. By the time we get back to the Jeep, the searing hot wind has thickened with smoke. Our eyes are watering from a crummy combination of sweat, smoke, and tears. I help Delphi into the passenger seat, toss her backpack into the rear seat, and then leap behind the wheel, hoping with all my heart that the engine will start when I flip the lever and depress the starting pedal. It turns over but doesn't catch. My heart sinks, and then I remember the secret to making it start is in my pocket. "What's wrong?" Delphi asks. No time to explain. I race to the front, lift the hood, and plug the wire into the distributor cap. Back behind the wheel, I close my eyes and flip the starter switch. Vroom! What a beautiful sound. "Hang on!" I shout and let out the clutch. A moment later, we're barreling along the old logging trail with the hot wind at our back, which isn't good because it means the wind is pushing the fire and smoke in our direction. But going the other way would have taken us back into the fire, so this is our only option. I'm gripping the wheel with all my might as we bounce along the ruts, concentrating on keeping the vehicle on the trail and not veering off or colliding with a stump. The thing is, with my eyes watering, I'm not seeing all that good. "Look behind," I shout to Delphi. "Is it catching up?" "I don't know, maybe. The whole sky is on fire." I press down on the accelerator until the pedal hits the floor. We're flying, hitting 20 miles an hour according to the speed gauge. There's only one way to make it go faster, and that's to change gears, which is something I haven't attempted at full speed because until now second gear was fast enough. "Hang on!" I push in the clutch, push the gear level down to the right, and let the clutch out. Third gear. Much faster. Too fast, the way we're being rattled around, so I let up slightly on the gas pedal. 35 miles an hour. On a highway, that would be as slow as a snail. On an uneven, unpaved logging road, it feels like 100 miles an hour. And it's working. The smoke is thinning, and that means we're outrunning the fire, which doesn't make my heart pound any less. We need to get far away, miles and miles. Back at the pond, the fire moved like a sprinter racing from a cottage roof to a full-blown wildfire in minutes. Everything's so dry, just waiting to explode into flame. And those dirt bikers racing around like gleeful devils chanting "away, away," and burning the world. Did I hear them wrong? Was that really what they were shouting? And why does it sound so familiar? One thing I know for sure, the bikers spotted us from across the pond. Me and Delphi are witnesses to a crime. Does that mean they'll try to run us down and shut us up? Maybe the fire scares them more than we do. If it was me, I'd want to have the wind in my face pushing the flames in the opposite direction. Fastest way to get clear and safe. And besides, we weren't close enough to see their faces, let alone identify them. That's what I keep telling myself as we slam along the ruts, teeth rattling. If we get far away from the fire, we'll also be far away from the dirt bikers. With the Jeep going this fast, Delphi has to yell to make herself heard. "I need to use the ladies' room." I slow down and put the gear shift in neutral and let us roll to a stop. No way am I going to shut off the engine, not when something might be catching up. Fire or bad guys or both. Of course there's no ladies' room, so Delphi takes a small roll of TP from her backpack, limps to a row of bushes, and disappears behind them. There's no smoke showing under the canopy of trees, just plain gray sky. And now that we're stopped, I notice the wind is no longer blowing in our direction. It's barely blowing at all, and seems to have shifted. All good. I strain to listen for the chainsaw sound of the dirt bikes, but can't hear anything. Delphi comes limping back and heaves herself into the passenger seat. "Sorry." "It's okay. The radio's in your backpack, right? Maybe we can get an update on the fire." I crank the little radio as fast as possible, then turn it on and slowly pan the antenna around until it catches the signal. "Fire service officials announce that the fight to contain the fire will concentrate resources and personnel on the southeastern edges of the conflagration." That's a big word for fire, but it's fun to say. Conflagration. They explain that the northern areas are thinly populated, whereas in the south, 6 to a dozen towns and villages are under threat. So Bigfoot, if you're out there, you better get running, because nobody's coming to help. Just kidding, rock and rollers. I'm raising my mug of morning coffee in toast to our brave firefighters who are risking their lives to contain this awful blaze. Good luck. Be safe. This is Fat Freddie Bell, high atop the lowest official mountain in the great state of Maine. When the music comes back on, I switch it off. They're concentrating on the south, Delphi says in a croaky kind of whisper. We're in the north. I nod. So we're on our own, totally. Looks like it. I try to sound upbeat. But we've been all along and we're doing okay. We're still alive, right? Delphi sighs. Any idea where we're going? Mostly west, and I point at the compass on the dashboard. What about the map? I'm pretty sure we're off the map by now. What do we do? I shrug. Keep driving until we bump into a real road or a fire crew or somebody. But not them, Delphi shudders. Not those creeps. Not them, I agree. Can't believe I waved at those jerks. Doesn't matter now. We're making good progress. I get the Jeep back up into third gear and keep going for what must be a solid hour, chalking up the miles, figuring maybe 80 more miles in the tank before we run out of gas. Not sure how far away from the fire we've gotten, because the old logging road meanders around, looking for a level pathway through the deep woods. Deep and getting deeper. The spruces and pines are much taller here, towering into the gray sky, blocking sunlight. Kind of spooky, really, if you turned your back, the giant trees might come alive. Of course, they are alive, but you know what I mean. I'm thinking about how I'll describe all this to Mom, how I'll make a really good story when we come around a corner, and everything changes. Suddenly, standing tall in the pathway is a great moose, a bull moose with antlers like radar scoops. And it's not about to move. I jam the brakes. We start to skid, turning sideways as I fight for control. The wheels hit the ruts the wrong way, and suddenly we're flying through the air. Chapter 18, It's a Girl Thing. By all rights, we should be dead. In a forest full of sharp branches and big rocks, we're somehow flung into a thick patch of soft ferns. I land on my back hard enough to knock the breath out of me. I turn over onto my hands and knees, gasping for air. 10 feet away, deep in the ferns, I see Delphi with her big eyes wide open, staring in amazed confusion. What happens? She asked. Moose, is all I can manage to say. I mean, to your Jeep, I thought it was going to land on top of us. I crawl out of the ferns onto the logging road and can't believe my eyes. The Jeep is up on its side, undercarriage exposed, leaning against a tree, one tire still spinning. Delphi's right. If the tree hadn't been there to block it, the vehicle might have killed us both. The moose is gone, vanished back into the woods. Delphi limps over, puts a hand on my shoulder. I'm so sorry. I know the Jeep is like a friend of yours or something. I don't know what to say. If we don't have the Jeep, how are we going to escape the fire? How are we going to find our way back to civilization? It's not like firefighters are on their way to save us. Delphi cautiously approaches the Jeep. You think it's total? She asked. I don't know. I feel helpless. Glass from the shattered headlights and the smashed windshield is scattered across the ground. Other than that, the Jeep looks more or less in one piece, except it's leaning up against a tree. Canned goods and water jugs have been thrown in the underbrush. I gather them up while I try to figure out what happens next. Meanwhile, Delphi finds herself a new walking stick and then snags her backpack from the leaning Jeep. She perches on an old stump and starts winding the charger on the radio, then aims the antenna around, honing in on the signal, which is stronger than it was last time. Your WRPZ host, Fat Freddie Bell, high atop the lowest official mountain in the great state of Maine. Wish I had better news, but the fact is it's getting worse. In the early morning hours, wildfire erupted in the vicinity of remotely situated Piney Pond and quickly engulfed hundreds of acres, cutting off power to this corner of the county. We're on a backup generator now with enough fuel for a few days. Heck, I'll siphon the gas out of my car if it comes to that. I'm planning on sticking it out and making these reports and hope it will help. If anybody's listening. Phone lines are down too, so I can't be sure of that. But if you are listening, here's something you need to know. Satellite images indicate that the Piney Pond fire was probably arson. Hard to believe there's someone out there angry enough, or evil enough, or stupid enough to deliberately start a fire in a tinder-dry forest. But what I do know, I can tell you this much, it's getting personal. I can see fire and smoke from the studio window, miles away but moving in this direction. And you know the weird thing? I never thought of fire as being alive, but it sure looks like it's living and breathing, except it's breathing flames instead of air. Whew! Forecast says there's a chance of a thunderstorm later in the day. Sure hope they're right, because boy, oh boy, we do need some rain. The sound fades out, turning to static, and Delphi stares at the little radio. I can't believe it. We were there, Sam. We were right there watching when those two creeps started the fire. Hundreds of acres, out of control, and nobody knows who did it but us. We don't know who did it, not really, except they were guys on dirt bikes. Young guys with long faces and blonde beards and tattoos on their arms. Are you serious? All I saw was the bikes. You must have eyes like an eagle. You noticed the bikes, I noticed the boys, she smiled. It's a girl thing. I make a pile of the canned goods, sorting them for nourishment. There's only so many we can carry when we're on foot, and we'll have to make them count. What's the plan, Delphi wants to know, limping over to inspect the cans. We have to keep moving. Those dirt bikers come this way, we're toast. Same for the fire. Do what you have to do, but I'm not walking. She's defiant. See this swollen ankle? The more I walk, the worse it gets. There's only one thing to do, one thing that makes sense. What's that? Fix the stupid Jeep. How? Her grin gets bigger. We do what the Greeks would do. Have a good day.